Hi everyone, welcome to the muster drill. I'm Scott, and a grand jury has ordered Carnival to pay $10 million to a cruiser. Hi everyone, welcome back. So, a federal grand jury has ordered Carnival to pay a cruiser $10 million in a verdict from a lawsuit that was filed in the Southern District of Florida. Now, if you didn't know, the Southern District of Florida is the only court jurisdiction where a cruise line can be sued for anything. Now, the lawsuit stems from a situation that was reported in 2018 on board the Carnival Miracle. Now, the plaintiff, known as Jane Doe, filed a lawsuit in the Southern District of Florida claiming that she was raped while on board the Carnival Miracle in 2018 by a crew member. The details of the lawsuit spell out a situation where it was the last night of the cruise and the Jane Doe was on the cruise for the first time. She was traveling with a friend and the friend's family, and to her own admission, she had become extremely intoxicated after dinner. Now, her attorney argues that the cruise line is to blame for her intoxication because cruise lines always overserve their passengers. And regardless of whether that's true or not, the Jane Doe indicated that she was forced into a maintenance closet by a crew member where she was subsequently raped and held prisoner against her will and not allowed to leave. Eventually, the crew member did let her go, where she went straight back to her cabin and reported the incident to her friend, and then subsequently contacted ship security to report the incident, in which ship security had an obligation to notify the FBI, who then conducted an investigation at the end of the cruise when the ship got back to the United States. And at that time, the crew member did tell the FBI that he had a consensual encounter with the plaintiff Jane Doe, and that there was nothing forced about it, and that both of them agreed. Of course, the Jane Doe disagreed with everything, and at the end of the investigation, the FBI chose to not charge the crew member with any crime whatsoever, and he was free to go. However, Carnival did fire the crew member due to their zero tolerance policy with the crew interacting and fraternizing with the passengers. So in any event, the Jane Doe was awarded by a federal grand jury $10 million in damages, and Carnival, of course, says that it's going to appeal it. And in my opinion, what will probably end up happening is both parties will quietly agree to a much lower amount of money, and the whole thing will kind of be hush-hush, and we won't hear anything more about it. So in any event, the cruise industry has always maintained that crime is very low or almost non-existent on a cruise ship, and I happen to believe that. Now, lately, there's been a lot of fights and stuff going on cruises, and I just think in general, because of the pandemic and everything else, that people are just a little bit more on edge of things, and I think people are just, I don't know what's been happening with people, but we definitely have been seeing more instances of fights and stuff on cruise ships lately, but I do not think that that is the norm. I believe that most people who go on cruise vacation are just there to have a good time, and therefore you're not going to run into crime. But wherever people are, crime does occur, so it does happen on cruise ships. And then in another incident involving Carnival Cruise Lines, which I have a news broadcast that I'm going to be showing here in a moment, this Texas couple decided that they were going to rent scooters and tour around Cozumel, and admittedly, they mentioned that the scooters were not in good condition, but they chose to ride them anyway. And of course, somebody was injured and had to go to a local hospital. And before I say anything more about it, I'm going to show this video, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit more about it. So here's the video.
So it's still summer. which means families are still taking vacations, cruises, and going on those road trips.
Yeah, News 10's Ali Kadlabar is here to talk to us about a not-so-happy trip that one family from Freestone County took. They experienced more of a nightmare than a cruise. Ali, what happened in particular that made this so bad for this family?
Well, any vacation that includes a trip to the emergency room is a nightmare. But this family ended up in an emergency room in Mexico. I spoke with the family about what was supposed to be a fun family vacation. This is the Daniels at the beginning of the Carnival cruise. But this is Navlette Daniels on that Wednesday. Navlette and her husband, Michael Daniels, got into a motor scooter accident during one of their excursions in Cozumel, but their injuries were only one traumatic part of the trip. They went to a hospital in Cozumel where doctors demanded money in cash before conducting any tests or screenings. Francesca Jenkins, Navlette's daughter, had to leave her parents behind because she did not have a passport. Michael Jr., Navlette's son, stayed and paid thousands of dollars in cash to communicate with the Mexican government and doctors to get him and his family home safely.
There was a sense of fear to be in another country that's not your own, and not knowing what's really gonna happen once the boat leave you. Like, what are you gonna do? What's the plan? How are you gonna get back across? Because once the boat left, the hospital director, he said to me, well, the only way to get back now is to pay some money, and maybe they'll fly you back across, and you're going to have to talk to the government.
The family spent over $50,000 in cash, but the Daniels are home and recovering at Francesca's house. Doctors say they will make a full recovery, but they are unsure how they will recover financially. After going through that experience, they have some recommendations for anyone taking a cruise. Bring your passport, inspect any equipment you use, and be careful when on shore for excursions. In studio, Ali Kadlabar, KWTX News 10.
Did anyone notice that the cruise ship they were showing was the Norwegian Escape and not the Carnival Breeze? So where do I start with this entire situation? I mean, this is the biggest and the best argument for having travel insurance. Hands down, this is exactly the situation that travel insurance was created for. Even though situations can happen no matter where you are, or no matter what the situation is, and even having travel insurance is not going to take care of the out-of-pocket expenses that you have to incur at that moment, but at least you could take comfort in knowing that when you got back that you would be getting most or some or all of that money back, by filing a claim with the travel insurance. Now, I personally sell travel insured or CNF insurance to all of my clients. I always recommend it. I talk about situations like this as a prime example on why I think that they should buy it. Not every travel insurance is the same. The insurance that you get from the cruise lines is extremely limited, and the amount of money that it pays out is very little. So I always recommend a more comprehensive insurance. I always sell CNF, and the great thing about CNF is that in some situations it will even extend itself for 7 days past the last travel date indicated on the policy. Okay, so there's the end of the travel insurance commercial. I won't say anything more about it. And the last thing I wanted to mention is a couple of days ago, Carnival announced that it was selling $1 billion worth of stock and that it plans to use that money just for general corporate purposes. And some people are concerned that the cruise lines are in bigger trouble than they're letting on, but I really disagree with that assessment. The cruise lines were shut down for 2 years and they took on a lot of debt, and I'm sure they're anticipating debt payments and other types of expenses coming up. And whether you know or not, it's very common for corporations to sell stock for all kinds of reasons. Now, I do expect that this will affect cruise pricing, at least in the short term. I don't believe that the cruise lines can afford to continue to offer the really amazing deals that they were at the beginning of the restart, which of course they did to try to entice people back into cruising because of all of the fear of COVID and everything. But I also believe that cruising is the best value in vacation and will continue to be so even if there's not these incredible deals out there. And I do believe that the cruise lines will recover from all of this. It'll just take time. So I think that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. And if you like this video, don't forget to click that like button. And then don't forget to click the subscribe button. It won't cost you anything. You click it once and you're done. It'll really help us out a lot. And then don't forget to click that notification bell so that you know every time we upload a new video. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.